The engine of her sleek black car purred as she eased into the narrow spot in front of the upscale restaurant. She checked her reflection in the rearview mirror, straightened her jacket, and stepped out. The evening air was crisp, the city alive with twinkling lights, but it wasn't the city she noticed first. He was there, leaning casually against the side of a black luxury sedan, arms crossed, dark eyes glinting with amusement. The Mafia boss she'd only heard about in hushed whispers across the city had that infamous smirk plastered across his face. "You really are stubborn," he said, his voice smooth but laced with danger. She raised an eyebrow, folding her arms. "I could say the same about you, just standing there watching people's cars like some bored king." His smirk widened. "Stubborn? I like that." He glanced at his watch. "Dinner tomorrow. 9. Don't be late." Her pulse raced. His confidence was almost infuriating. Almost. She wanted to turn, to drive away, but some reckless part of her wanted to see what kind of storm this man could bring. "I don't even know who you are," she said coolly, though her stomach twisted in excitement. "That's the fun part," he said, his grin sharp and thrilling. "You'll find out soon enough." A tense silence hung between them. People walked by, oblivious to the dangerous electricity crackling in the small space between a stubborn woman and a Mafia boss who clearly didn't take no for an answer. Then, as if sensing her hesitation, he stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "Be there or you'll regret it," he murmured, voice low and velvet dark. Her jaw tightened. She didn't flinch. Stubborn, yes, but curious too. And somehow, impossibly, that smirk made her heart beat faster than she wanted to admit. As he walked back to his car, the lights of the city reflected off the tinted windows, casting shadows over his smirk. Tomorrow, she thought, would be a night unlike any other. And maybe, just maybe, she was ready for it. She couldn't focus. Every time she tried to work, his smirk invaded her mind, the dangerous curve of his lips, the way his dark eyes seemed to see through her stubborn facade. Her friends noticed her distraction. "Who is he?" one whispered, raising an eyebrow. "No one you'd want to know," she replied a little too quickly. Truth was, she didn't even know if she should be thinking about him, or fearing him. Yet her pulse betrayed her curiosity. Meanwhile, across the city, he was replaying the encounter in his own way. Most women cowered before him, flinched at the mere mention of his name. She hadn't. She had stared right back, matched his confidence, even challenged him. He found himself smiling at the memory, a rare occurrence in his calculated life. By late afternoon, subtle things began to happen. A black sedan idled nearby when she left work. A driver she didn't recognize offered to carry her bags when she went shopping. Every small interaction made her heart race, not out of fear exactly, but excitement. She couldn't tell if it was danger or desire pulling her toward him. Her friends teased her relentlessly. "You're obsessed," they said, smirking. Maybe they were right. She refused to admit it, but something about him felt magnetic, like walking toward a storm she knew she shouldn't, but couldn't resist. Later that evening, her phone buzzed. A message flashed. 9. Don't forget. It. Her breath caught. One letter. One reminder. One promise of danger, and perhaps something more. She typed back nothing, instead staring at the message, imagining the smirk that had accompanied those words. She knew tomorrow night would change everything. And for the first time in her carefully controlled life, she felt like losing control might be exhilarating. 9 o'clock arrived faster than she expected. She adjusted her dress in the car mirror, her hands trembling slightly, not from fear but anticipation. The restaurant's golden lights glimmered in the evening haze, reflecting off the polished marble floors and crystal chandeliers. He was already there. Sitting at a corner table, dark suit perfectly tailored, one hand resting casually on the chair, the other holding a glass of red wine. His smirk greeted her before his eyes did, that same infuriating, thrilling expression that made her stomach twist. "Right on time," he said, his voice low and commanding. "Lucky guess," she replied, sliding into the chair, careful to maintain her stubborn poise. For a few moments, the conversation danced around nothing. Food, weather, the city, yet every word carried unspoken tension. He leaned in slightly, his gaze sharp, like a predator sizing up his prey, but the prey was not cowering. It intrigued him more than he expected. "You're brave," he said finally, swirling his wine. "Most people would have fled after one encounter with me." "I'm not most people," she said, a spark of defiance in her eyes. He chuckled, that low, dangerous sound that sent a shiver down her spine. "Good. I like that." The dinner progressed, each dish punctuated by charged glances and subtle touches. A brush of his hand over the table, the occasional lean that reduced the space between them to nothing. She felt drawn to him, torn between fascination and the knowledge that he was dangerous, dangerously irresistible. Halfway through dessert, he leaned back, eyes glinting. "You know," he said, voice low and teasing, "most women would have already given in to me." "I'm not most women," she repeated, smiling despite herself. The smirk returned, sharper than ever. "I think you'll make this very interesting," he murmured before signaling the waiter to clear the plates. As she left the restaurant that night, she felt a thrill she couldn't explain. Danger, excitement, and desire, all mingled together. And deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. Tomorrow the real challenge would begin. The roar of the engine made her heart race as she slid into the passenger seat of his sleek black car. He didn't ask for her permission. She'd long since realized that wasn't how he operated. The city lights blurred past as he weaved through the streets with precision, each turn sending adrenaline coursing through her veins. "You trust me?" he asked, glancing sideways with that infuriating smirk. "I don't have a choice, do I?" she shot back, trying to mask her nerves. He laughed, a low, dangerous sound that made her shiver. "Smart girl," he said. Then the car accelerated, the cityscape flying past in a whirlwind of lights and shadows. She gripped the leather seat, part terrified, part exhilarated. He wasn't reckless. Everything he did was controlled, calculated. Yet the thrill of being along for the ride, feeling completely vulnerable, made her pulse pound in ways she hadn't felt in years. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, glancing at him. "Testing you," he replied simply, eyes fixed on the road ahead. "Seeing if you can handle danger and temptation." Temptation. The word sent a jolt through her. She glanced at him, dangerous, confident, magnetic. She wanted to pull back, to tell him to stop, but her stubbornness refused. She wasn't about to give him that satisfaction. The car slowed near a quiet riverside overlook, the city glowing behind them. He turned to her, smirk curling again. "Most women would have already panicked," he said. "But you're different. Stubborn. Brave. Intriguing." Her breath caught. She didn't know whether to be insulted or flattered. "Intriguing, huh?" she asked, trying to sound unimpressed. "Very," he murmured, leaning closer. The proximity made her stomach twist, her pulse racing. "And I like that you fight me, in every way." She didn't answer. Words wouldn't do justice to the tension between them. Instead, she stared back, refusing to look away, even as his gaze seemed to burn straight through her. The night ended with the car ride back, silent, yet charged with electricity neither could deny. She knew one thing for certain. After tonight, the game between them had only just begun. The invitation had seemed innocent enough, a casual dinner at his penthouse. She didn't know what she expected, but nothing could have prepared her for the world she was about to step into. The elevator doors opened to a sprawling apartment, sleek and modern, yet with a sense of power that radiated from every corner. He led her through rooms filled with expensive art, weapons subtly displayed, and security cameras tucked into corners. The air smelled faintly of expensive cologne and danger. "This is impressive," she said cautiously, trying to mask the unease curling in her stomach. He smirked, pouring them both a glass of wine. "This is only the tip of it," he said. "Everything I own, everything I control, most people wouldn't dare even glance at it. But you're not most people." Her pulse quickened. Mafia boss. Dangerous. Powerful. And somehow, intoxicating. She wanted to run, wanted to protect herself from the danger, yet some reckless part of her was already drawn in. As he led her to a balcony overlooking the city, she finally let herself speak. "Why show me this?" "Because," he said, leaning against the railing, "you deserve to know what you're getting yourself into, if you decide to stay." The wind whipped her hair around her face, and she felt the truth of his words sink in. He was a storm, untamed, dangerous, and he wanted her right in the center of it. Her mind raced. She could leave. She could walk out and never look back. But even as fear tugged at her instincts, curiosity, desire, and the pull of his dark smirk kept her rooted in place. "I don't know if I can," she began, but he cut her off softly yet firmly. "You can," he said. "You just haven't realized it yet. Stubbornness is a gift, but so is courage. And I see both in you." She looked at him, the weight of the revelation pressing down. Danger, power, obsession, and undeniable attraction swirled between them. For the first time she understood. Her life was about to change forever. And no amount of stubbornness could protect her from the pull of the mafia boss standing before her. The text came without warning. "We know who you are with. Be careful." Her hands trembled as she read it, but she tried to keep her fear in check. She had known danger followed him, but she hadn't expected it to reach her so quickly. He appeared at her doorstep before she could process a plan, his presence sudden, commanding, impossible to ignore. The dark smirk she had once found infuriating now felt like a shield against the world. "You received a message," he said quietly, stepping inside, eyes scanning every shadow. "They're testing you." "They?" she asked, voice tight. "Rivals," he said simply. "People who think they can touch anything I care about." His hand brushed against hers as he handed her a glass of wine, casual yet possessive. The gesture made her pulse race. Danger and desire mingled in a way that made it impossible to think clearly. "Why are you here?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Because I can't let them touch you," he said, his tone low, dangerous. "You're mine, stubborn or not." Her heart skipped. What? The word hung between them, thick with meaning. She wanted to argue, to tell him she could handle herself, but she couldn't find the words. The fire in his gaze melted her defenses. They spent the evening planning precautions, his presence both protective and suffocating. Every glance, every touch reminded her that she was no longer just herself. She was a part of his world, a world of power, danger, and obsession. Later, as she tried to rest, her mind kept returning to him. The way he watched her, the sharp edge of his possessiveness, the thrill of knowing he would go to any lengths to keep her safe. For the first time she realized she didn't want him to stop. She didn't want protection, she wanted him. Dangerous, dark, and all-consuming. And as the night stretched on, she knew one thing: surviving his world would take courage. Loving him might take even more. The city was quiet that night, but danger never truly slept. She felt it before she saw it, a shadow flitting across the alley as she left her apartment. Her pulse quickened. She reached for her phone, but it was gone. Panic surged. "Relax," a voice said behind her, calm yet sharp. Her heart skipped, not from fear alone but from recognition. He was there. Dark, imposing, every bit the Mafia boss she had been warned about, and yet, breathtakingly close. "Stay behind me," he ordered softly, his hand brushing hers in a flash of warmth and control. They moved through the shadows, every sense alert. The attackers came too fast. Two men lunged from the darkness, but he was faster. Within moments they were disarmed, pinned, and at his mercy. His movements were precise, deadly, yet every glance he gave her was laced with concern. "You're reckless," he growled, voice low. "Do you know what could have happened?" I didn't see them coming," she admitted, voice shaking slightly. "You didn't have to," he murmured, the heat of his gaze making her shiver. "I'm here. Always." The adrenaline faded, replaced by a different kind of tension. She stared at him, part fear, part something far more dangerous. She had always thought danger was frightening. Now it was intoxicating. "You impressed me," he said, smirk softening into something darker, more intimate. "Not just with your stubbornness, with your courage." Her cheeks warmed. She wanted to step back, but every instinct pulled her closer. He leaned in, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. "And I like it, every part of you," he whispered. For a moment, the world narrowed to just the two of them, danger lurking in the periphery, yet completely irrelevant. Her heart raced, not from fear this time but desire. When the threat finally passed, she realized something frightening and exhilarating. She trusted him. More than she had ever trusted anyone. And deep down she knew she was falling, for the most dangerous, captivating man she had ever met. The night air was thick with unspoken words as they returned to his penthouse. Silence hung between them, heavy, charged, impossible to ignore. Every glance, every brush of his hand against hers carried a weight she could no longer deny. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, though her voice trembled, not from fear but something far more dangerous. "And yet here you are," he said, stepping closer. His dark eyes locked on hers, smoldering with a desire that sent heat straight through her chest. "I can't stay away from you." She tried to pull back, but his presence was magnetic, drawing her in against her better judgment. The tension between them was unbearable, each heartbeat a countdown she didn't want to end. "You know this is reckless," she breathed, her hands barely grazing his chest. He smiled, a slow, dangerous curl of his lips. "Stubborn and reckless. My kind of woman." His fingers brushed her cheek, tracing a line she hadn't known she was craving. Her lips parted, words failing her, and the air between them seemed to ignite. Every suppressed emotion, the fear, the thrill, the desire, finally demanded release. He leaned closer, their foreheads nearly touching. "Do you feel it too?" he murmured. Between us? She nodded, unable to speak, her pulse racing. The heat in his gaze, the closeness, the danger, they were intoxicating, addictive. Every instinct screamed to pull away, yet every heartbeat pulled her nearer. "You drive me insane," he whispered, his breath brushing her lips. "But I can't resist you." The words were both a confession and a warning. Desire mingled with danger, each touch charged with a tension that neither could escape. She knew the world outside, the threats, the rival families, the Mafia wars, still loomed. But here, in this moment, nothing existed except the pull between them. As the night stretched on, they remained inches apart, tasting the temptation, testing boundaries. It was forbidden, dangerous, and utterly irresistible. And deep down, she knew one truth: surrendering to him even for a moment would change everything. Forever. The storm had arrived, figuratively and literally. Rain pelted the city as she arrived at his headquarters, heart pounding. Tonight wasn't just another dangerous thrill. Tonight, truths would be revealed. He met her in the shadows of the expansive lobby, eyes dark, unreadable, yet filled with an intensity she couldn't escape. "You came," he said, voice low and taut with expectation. "I need answers," she said, her stubbornness sharpening. "Why me? Why all this danger?" He stepped closer, closing the distance between them. "Because you're not like the others," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "You fight, you question, you challenge me. You're alive in a way no one else has been. And his voice faltered, rare vulnerability surfacing. "I care more than I should." Her chest tightened. She had always suspected he felt something deeper, but hearing it, knowing it, was both terrifying and intoxicating. "I care too," she whispered. "Even if it's dangerous. Even if it's forbidden." A shadow moved in the doorway, a trusted lieutenant, but he waved him away. "Later," he muttered, eyes never leaving hers. They spoke in hurried whispers, confessing hidden fears and truths. She admitted her fascination, her thrill at his danger. He confessed his obsession, his relentless need to protect her, even when she resisted. The weight of their words pressed down, yet it was liberating. But the world outside refused to wait. Messages arrived, threats growing bolder. Rival families, jealous enemies, the Mafia's constant pulse of danger, it all intruded. And now loyalties were tested. "You have to trust me," he said firmly, gripping her shoulders. "I won't let anyone hurt you. Not ever." Her eyes softened, but defiance lingered. "I trust you," she said, "but I won't let myself be just a pawn in your world." He smiled, a mixture of triumph and something darker. "I don't want a pawn. I want you. Stubborn, alive, completely mine." And in that moment, amidst threats, confessions, and unspoken promises, they understood the truth. Danger could destroy them, but it could also bind them together, stronger than anything else. The city pulsed beneath them, lights shimmering like a living thing as she stood beside him on the rooftop. Sirens wailed in the distance, evidence that the storm had finally passed. His enemies had been dealt with. The danger for now was over. She exhaled slowly, realizing how tightly she'd been holding herself together. "So this is your world," she said softly. "It is," he replied, turning to face her. "And I won't lie, it's dangerous. Brutal. Unforgiving." His gaze softened, a rare crack in his armor. "But you changed it. You changed me." Her heart skipped. She had never expected those words from a man like him. "I never meant to," she admitted. "I just refused to be afraid." A slow smirk touched his lips, familiar yet different now. Warmer. "That's what made me fall," he said quietly. The word fall hung between them, heavy and real. She stepped closer, no longer running, no longer resisting. "I won't disappear into your shadow," she said firmly. "If I stay as myself." He reached for her hand, gripping it with certainty. "That's exactly why I want you. Stubborn, strong, unbreakable." Below them, the city moved on, unaware that something far more dangerous than a Mafia war had been decided. She leaned into him, her head resting against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of the future. Not the danger. Not the whispers. Not the man beside her. "This doesn't end here, does it?" she murmured. He kissed her forehead, protective and possessive all at once. "No," he said. "This is just the beginning." As the night wrapped around them, stubborn hearts finally surrendered, not to fear but to love forged in danger, defiance, and undeniable desire.